Good evening. Again, this is Seth Moore coming to you by way of Spreaker iHeartRadio, Amazon, Podbean, and of course, Anchor by Spotify. We're here again because we're going to be bringing you some additional information as to what we were discussing earlier in the earlier podcast. And we are going to be giving you some organic compounds of this inferior body and this inferior composition of you and me. And we're still talking about the divinity of the black inferior body, mind, soul, and that divine proportion, and what we were discussing earlier as it relates to what you were receiving. And we want to give you this. We're not going to do it in totality, but of course, we want to, give you a breakdown. Excuse me. And I want to bring something to your attention that is so critical, because I think you probably remember me mentioning earlier where I said, when you start hearing these people talk about global warming and the ozone layer and how that the polar caps are beginning to melt and the temperature is actually rising, because as we lose the density of these cold climate areas, of course, the temperature is going to change. So that concern with this is you have to pay attention into the language that they're using, okay? And that language a lot of times is tricky, because the English language was cast as a spell when they was bringing the Africans over from, the continent, and they were teaching them English. The English lexicon and words in the English language cast spells on people. And so this is why you got to know the trickery. You got to know the words. When they use certain words, they're actually being, it's like being in politics where they say use political jargon. In other words, they're saying one thing but meaning another. You follow me? So you have to be very careful of that. And this is what is being done today, is that a lot of words are being done to make you believe or to make you think they're saying or meaning one thing, when in fact they're saying something entirely different. And oftentimes what they're saying is against you and me, okay? It's against you and me. And it's against our ascension. It's against our rise, because they know it's already been written. They know it's been written. It's been written. It's already sealed. And so what best way to thwart that is to find another route to deviate and to make our people believe something entirely different. And so this is why, being a carbon-based ether people, being ether beings, it behooves us that we have to watch what we eat and what we do in every facet of our lives, okay? Because, as you already know, they're genetically modifying foods today. So you don't really, I was saying to my daughter, you really don't know what you're eating, even if the package says it's healthy. You have to be very selective in what you choose, because point being is this. Excuse me, let me get some water here. Point being is this. They have to break down. They have to break down your molecular system. Okay? Because what's comprised in everything that you are is everything in the universe, as we talked about earlier. So if in fact, if everything that you're comprised of, carbon, oxygen, ether, all of these things that give life to the planet, all these things that give life to the universe, then they have to find ways in how to impede that. Okay? They have to find ways, and that's what they're doing. And so this is why I bring you the information. This is why I bring you the information, and I ask you to smash that button, give me a like, even support if you feel like you want to do that, because it's important. And I think that the information that you're receiving is coming from the heart. I'm not doing this for any recognition. I'm giving you this because you're my people. I love you. I want you to have the information. Period. That's what it really boils down to. There's no hidden agendas here. None at all. Okay? No hidden agendas. Now I'm gonna say something that you might find crazy. Okay? You might find this real crazy. But when I was a youngster in school, I'm talking about back in the early 60s, when I was a child, and that was a long time ago, because I'm in my 60s, okay? And I may not look like it, but I am. But let me say this. In school, I love science, and that's probably one of the reasons why I do this. I love science, number one. It was one of my favorite subjects in school, science and English. Okay. And so, in my heart, deep down inside, at this particular time when I was a youngster in school, this was during the era of when the United States was becoming really, and they became an industrialized country, of course, back in the early, you know, 40s and 50s and so forth and so on, during that time, but I believe at this time that the United States of America did not have, they just was beginning to introduce the world to a space program, because as of yet, we're talking about maybe 60s, 66, 60, 65. I was in elementary school, okay? At that particular time, the United States did not have a space program because we didn't go to orbit in the United States until the late 60s. Okay, so my point is this. I created an apparatus when I was in school, and it looked like a satellite. I think I might have given the space program their first design and model of a satellite. I'm gonna just say that because they put me in the newspaper. I was I was in, the New Haven Register, and they made a big thing out of this. I won the science thing, and I was like, okay, wow, and I won that in my class as a youngster. And of course, what we were dealing with as a people back in that time. They weren't given, no black kids or no black people that kind of space to be creative. Where, in other words, where they acknowledge it anyways. But I just wanted to put that out there because you'll never know. A lot of you have probably done things when you were small that you got recognition for. You were in the paper, and you got your little 15 minutes of fame, and you did good, and your family and friends congratulated you, and people in school or whatever. And you never know what it became of that particular thing that you actually invented or created. And it probably somebody somewhere off, because that's what people do. They've taken it and they've used it and they've created something out of it, and they became a huge global, phenomenon. So anyways, let's move on. But I wanted to say that, and also, I want to make you aware of, what is happening, because when you actually put the compounds of ether together, because they used to use ether as an anesthetic back in the early days. But of course, the doctors didn't know how to use it because they was, catching fire, and because of course ether's hot. So that's why they put it in brown bottles so that the sunlight can't reflect it and so forth. Okay, but they were doing things where they didn't have a hold on it and properly knowing how to use it. So of course today we're more advanced and we know how to do that today. But these compounds, what I want to bring to your attention is that these compounds in ether and the same thing, they may differ a little bit. When they start talking about global warming and the carbon emissions that are in the air and all this and what those things are comprised of in regards to what they're emitting in the atmosphere, and they tell us, well, this is that, and that is this, and this is the reason for, this is the reason for global warming. This is the reason why the ozone layer is beginning to, to dissipate and so forth and so on. But for us, you've never taken into account that with all the ether beings that we have here on planet Earth, being black people, you're walking around here, ether star beings, carrying this, magnetic electric light within you that's emanating from your crown, from your hair, as we talked about. You got these electromagnetic emanations coming from your hair that the sun hits and it emits energy, right? It emits energy. And so you think about billions of people around the planet who are emitting this energy, being ether beings, right? And then being solar beings at the same time, comprised of carbon, oxygen, these compound gases that make up the compilation of ether. You got all of this in the atmosphere. So what do you think that's doing? You got billions of ether beings on the planet who's emitting magnetic pulses through light frequencies. Okay, through light frequencies that are being magnetically pulsing from the sun to your hair within your body, and you being a sun yourself, because everything that's in the sun. And we're going to talk about this this vortex of the black sun. We'll get to that sometime, and we'll do a podcast on that. And this stuff is, I'm telling you, this stuff is super profound and deep. You know what I'm saying? You are walking around an ether god and goddess. You understand what I'm saying? And they're telling us, oh, the carbon emissions, and of course there are some carbon emissions. We won't neglect the fact that there are some that are emanating in the atmosphere from these chemical plants and so forth. But it's not just that. It's not that. It's the ether that is in the universe that is emanating from us. And they're saying, okay, but we got to do something about this, because you have all of this energy. You have all of this energy that's floating, right, through billions of melanated ether beings on the planet. And it's creating another sun. And this is why we have right now, when I did a podcast on that, we have this second sun that's in the atmosphere. Who you think is creating that second sun? It's ether beings. Who's creating that second sun? It's us. It is us. We're creating that second sun, unbeknownst to a lot of us. And this is why you could use your power to literally burn up things. Now, you might say that's far-fetched. Because I know you've heard, all of us have heard of combustible, people having a combustible episode. There have been people in history that have been documented that they can bust it because there was so much heat. So we bring the heat, y'all. We bring that heat. We bring that ether in the universe because we are that. We are those compounds in the universe that make up those ether compounds. But I want to read something to you real quickly. And then, because the point I wanted to make, which I did, I think, is that these different compounds that comprises, the ether complex along with these, what they're talking about as far as the carbon emissions and the gases and so forth, because that's what it is these gases that make up this formula. And we are that formula, but we're the good side of that formula, okay? Because there's also a negative side as well, but we are the good side of that formula. And so now you have people, the powers that be, who are finding ways. I remember not long ago, Bill Gates was talking about they have to find some way to block the sun. And some of you guys might remember that. Some of you might remember that. They said it's too much sun coming on the planet. And they're trying to find some way to artificially block out the sun. So why you think the two suns were created? Because they're not going to be able to, because they understand that with a second sun and with all this ether that's being generated, oh, it's game. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. And so we bring the heat. We bring the heat. We bring the heat in the world. So when the sun is hot, it's because of the ether beings who are drawing from the sun and they're pulling it. See, because opposed to other people who are not melanated, and we talk about the eumelanin and the phenomelanin, and of course the euromelanin and so forth. And the euromelanin are, of course, that is what creates the dark, the real pitch black people, as far as pigment, and the brown, okay, and the brown pigmentation. But of course, that phenomelanin is for those who can't absorb the sun. But what happens as a result of it, they reflect the sun. So they push the sun off. So the sun is not friendly, okay, as you already know. But with us, we absorb it. Why? Because of that ether quality, the carbon quality that's within us. We're special. Let nobody fool you. And what they're doing now is they're trying to create ways where they're trying to deflect, where it'll be what is benefiting us, or that it will work against us. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen because we got too many people who are emanating that carbon-based ether quality on the planet, and those gases are creating holes in the atmosphere where our ancestors are preparing to do their thing anyway. So we're gonna let's just read some of this, and we'll get back. Okay, so here we go. Okay, organic compounds. Any of the large class of chemical compounds in which one or more atoms of carbon are covalently linked to atoms. And this is where they talk about from atoms to atom. You follow what I'm saying? And all of us, we know what atoms are, okay? The ATOMS. And we go from atoms to Adam, the ADMES. Minus the E, rather. So this is what's happening. And it says there's links to the atoms of other elements, most commonly hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen. The few carbon-containing compounds not classified as organic include include carbides, carbonates, and cyanides. Okay, in general, organic compounds are substances that contain carbon C. Carbon atoms provide the key structural framework that generates the vast diversity of organic compounds. So it creates that the vast diversity within us, and this is why we talked about earlier. We talked about the DNA series when the scientists did the study around the globe and found out that the Africans of all people, everybody else is vibing off of a 6 ether vibration. And all the Africans are vibing off of 9 ether vibration, the highest in the world, the highest on the globe. So that means that gives us the ability, we're the most talented, we're the smartest, no doubt. Because everything that we use has been invented by us, right? Okay, so it gives us the ability to hone in on the Creator, on our Godness, and to be able to connect and to do things otherworldly. Because we're not from here, no way. We're just here having a human experience. But we're ether beings. Okay, again. So, in general, organic compounds are substances that contain carbon C, and carbon atoms provide the key structural framework that generates the vast diversity, as I just read. In organic compounds, all things on Earth and most likely elsewhere in the universe that can be described as living have a crucial dependence on organic compounds. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the organic compounds of ether. And they say that ether is so divine and spiritual that you really can't pinpoint it. It's not like you could reach out and touch it. It just is. It's an element from the Creator. Okay, so it's not like you could just reach out and touch it or you could grab it. But it's so vast and it's so spiritual that everything in the universe has to have it. Okay? And it talks about it in foodstuffs and fats, proteins, carbohydrates, or organic compounds. Okay, as are such vital substances as hemoglobin, chlorophyll, enzymes, hormones, and vitamins. Other materials that add to the comfort, health, and convenience of humans are composed of organic compounds, including clothing made of cotton, wool, silk, just like our hair, synthetic fibers, which we want to stay away from as far as synthetic fibers, common fuels. So what I wanted to say is it's very critical, whether you know it or not, is that even the clothes that you wear, make sure that you wear good cottons. And you don't have to spend a lot of money for them, but make sure that they're good cottons. And don't wear nothing. I know, because nobody likes wearing no itchy clothes, But everything, because you are an inferior being, everything has to, what am I trying to say? Everything has to promote who you are. And I'm not talking about fashion. I'm talking about health-wise. I'm talking about for your ascension. Everything has to promote your higher elevation. So you want to wear, if you wear silk, make sure it's 100% silk. Okay? If you wear rayon, make sure it's 100%, or a cotton, or, because it's going to infuse, because know it or not, which we all do, I believe, we know that clothes are dyed, and they put dye, when they're making certain colors and so forth, they use indigo. And so that's why a lot of times when people first buy clothes, depending on what they are, if they're washable, people will go home and wash them first before they put them on. They'll put them in a cold wash if they can wash. So, say if you buy a purple blouse, say, okay, I'm gonna take this home and throw it in the washing machine and wash it out on a delicate cycle so that, of course, it don't get messed up, But because you don't, all that dye would go into your pores. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, we want to be mindful of this. Okay. So it says it's composed of organic compounds, including clothing made of cotton, wool, silk, and synthetic fibers. And like what I said, stay away from the synthetic stuff. Common fuels such as wood, coal, petroleum, natural gas. Components of protective coatings such as varnishes, paints, lacquers, and enamels. Antibiotics, synthetic drugs, natural. See, so all the synthetic stuff you obviously want to stay away from. And if you can, and I know a lot of our people, unfortunately, have some health issues. Some people have high blood pressure, diabetes, and they have to take all this medicine. And you may want, like I said before, if you can consult with your physician to say, I'm thinking about, trying to do a holistic diet where you start drinking natural juices, leave the corn syrup juice stuff alone. Make sure you drink. You might have to pay a couple more dollars, but it's worth it. It's your health. It's you. So, do salads. Make sure you wash off your stuff well. Do arugula. Do red leaf. Get you some avocados. Get you some radishes and put some fruit in your salad. Put some fresh blueberries in your salad. Or put some mango in your salad. Do things like that. See, because you want to get back to your higher self, and the way in which to do that is you have to do a 360 all the way around. And you can do it slowly. But as I said before in some other podcasts, leave the fried food alone. Stop eating out at those places. Those foods don't have no nutritional value. Wendy's, McDonald's, don't feed your kids that stuff. Bojangles. I've said this before. Leave that stuff alone. It's killing us. They put that in our neighborhoods because they know it's going to kill us. And trust me, when you go to those other areas further out where mostly you see a demographic of white folks, you don't see no Bojangles. You don't see no Wendy's. You don't see no Popeyes. You don't see none of that. What you will see, you'll see, what do you call it? What's the name of those places? You'll see all those places where they have, you know what I'm saying? They'll have nutritional food, like the different, steakhouses and not that that's so good for you either. But hey, them folks, they like red meat. Let them do what they do, and leave a lot of the red meat alone as well. It's okay to have it once in a blue moon, but not make it a regular dietary, supplement. Don't do that, because those things are killing us and our children. Don't buy your kids that sugar cereal, granola bars, leave all that stuff. It's not good for you. I've done the studies. That's why I'm telling you this. You know what I'm saying? Begin to make food for your children. And they be like, Mommy, Dad, I don't like that. You make them eat it. Because you're working and you the boss. Make them eat it. Leave all that sugar cereal alone, Cocoa Puffs and all that stuff that's killing our kids. Making them hyperactive and all that. And then they go to school, and then you got a problem with them in school, and the teacher calling you, and you got to go out to the schoolhouse to get him because he's so revved up off of all that Cocoa Puffs and all that food that's no good. All that fake juice that you're bringing in the house. Stop being stingy. Buy some real juice. Put real juice in your kids. Get you a juicer from the thrift shop. Find one. You can find one, clean it out really well. Run some water and bleach to it. Clean it out. Start juicing. Do yourself a favor. Start getting back to health. Be the goddess and your little kings and queens that you have in your home. Treat them like that. We got to get back to who we are, people, kings and queens. So anyways, I'm going to read a little bit more and we're going to be done. This is going to be the second part of part 2. And, but I wanted to bring this to you because it's a trap that they want to put you in. And it says here, I just want to read this to you. Does greenhouse gases trap heat in the atmosphere? See, and this is what they're concerned with. Okay, and it's not the greenhouse gases, it's us. They say the greenhouse gases molecules, and so these molecules that we're made up of, that I'm telling you about, and how our molecular system is fashioned by the Creator, it says in the atmosphere absorb light. Now who absorbs light more than anybody? We do. Who absorbs light more than anyone? We do, because we have the ether element from the sun, and we are the sun, where we pull in the UV rays, we absorb it, okay, and then we emit the same energy back out into the atmosphere. Come on, y'all. We absorb it, and then we send it back out through our hair. So when the sun hits our hair as antennas, what do antennas do? Antennas send out signals, magnetic signals, don't they? Yes, they do. So this is what's happening. I'm trying to get you to see what's happening. They talking about absorbing light, preventing some of it from escaping the earth. This heats up the atmosphere and raises the planet's average temperature. It is us that are doing that. Trust me, it's us. What do CO, methane, and water vapor have in common? If your first thought was greenhouse gases, you'd be correct. Okay, and remember when I was just saying earlier about how they use words to say one thing and mean something else? See, you got to be, and this is only with us being who we are, inferior beings and being spiritual, to be able to read through the bull dookie. You follow me? So it says, okay, they're saying the greenhouse gases are what's being emitted by these chemical plants. And I'm not saying that doesn't have a part in it, but what I am saying is that the heat that's being emanated and the gases, because ether is made up of gases, oxygen, carbon. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what's going out into the atmosphere when you absorb it and you put it back out. Okay? But how do these molecular these molecules actually warm our planet? Well, let's start our exploration of greenhouse gases with a single carbon dioxide, the same element that is in ether. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? Molecules. Let's say the CO molecule came from the exhaust in your car. Now we know that carbon monoxide is not good if in fact, you know, some people, when they're trying to leave out of here because they're depressed, they'll go and shut the garage and sit in the car. And you know what I'm saying? But prayerfully, none of us are going to do that. From your tailpipe, it drifts up into the atmosphere. Okay, diffuse it among the other gases. Okay, so now we know that those type of emissions from cars, we know that that's bad. We do know that. So this is why they're trying to go electric. But again, you see this fight where there's this pulling and tugging to go electric. Why? Because if you can keep these artificial gases from cars and so forth fighting the real ether gases that are in the universe, it makes people sick. But what is happening is that the fight against these gases, against the ether gases and molecules of carbon that are in the atmosphere, is not winning. Okay? Now, somebody might say, oh man, this dude crazy. No, I'm not. I'm giving you science. I'm giving you spiritual science. So this is what's going on, y'all. So what happens to those photons? Greenhouse gas molecules will absorb that light, causing the bonds between atoms to vibrate. Do that sound familiar to you? To vibrate. What they're saying is that that light that's emanating from the carbon-based, I'm telling you, y'all, the carbon-based ether beings is creating vibrational frequencies in the atmosphere. Okay, because you got all this light that's emanating, from ether beings, along with this carbon molecular gases that is filtering through the atmosphere through ether beings, that is choking out those, guess what, who don't have that same thing. Why? Because we were made differently. And so we have a coding where we have that protection where things don't affect us like it may other people. And this is why we have to raise our vibration, because I'm not saying that we can't feel ill, because when you don't protect what you have. It's only when you don't protect what you have when you get sick and you feel out of sorts, because your vibration's off, your ether's off, and you don't have your kundalini raised where it should be. So you know what? We're going to stop for now, and we're going to come back, of course. More than likely, we'll come back next week. So hit that button, like and share, smash it, and let us know, that you're on board with what we're talking about. And of course, we're not going to leave you hanging. We're coming back. But we have some more profound information to give you. But I wanted to drop something on you, give you some nuggets, because I'm telling you, y'all, you're powerful. You're real powerful. So keep your vibrations high, and we're going to bid you a great night. Eat something healthy, drink something healthy. Take some time out to meditate for 15 to 20 minutes. Just get alone and do Musa, Ashe. Inhale, exhale, and travel a little bit around the universe. You can do it. You're an ether being. It's easy for you to do. And just focus on that third eye. You're going to have a great time. So until next time, again, Seth Moore coming to you here on Anchor by Spotify by the way of Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple Music, Amazon, Budsprout. Ether beings, have a great evening. See you the next time.